Good morning. Well, we are still in the book of beginnings, Genesis, and we're making our way. And of course, we've come across a number of folks who, well, let's just say they all kind of have their issues, and we probably can relate to every single person in some way because they're human and they're fallible. And we're going to, yeah. We're going to continue to find out how fallible these Old Testament families are. So, not that we want to get Pharisaical and go, ha, 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 thank God I'm not like them, but just to realize, that I don't think there's anybody too dysfunctional whom God cannot save. So that really should be the overall take-home lesson. Okay. Well, today we're going to start on Genesis 27, and we kind of already know, right? So Abraham and Sarah, of course, God is true to his promise, and Isaac is born, and Isaac marries Rebecca, and Rebecca has, or am I jumping the gun here? Oh, well, let's just say that Isaac's two sons, Esau and Jacob, he was already told that the younger will serve the older, okay? Or the older will serve the younger, meaning that the normal passing on of blessings and inheritances and whatnot will be reversed. And this was even before the stuff happens in Genesis 27 and 28, okay? So in Abraham's life, we realize that they thought at different times that they needed to help God. Or, well, God really meant that your son was supposed to be through my servant Hagar, so on and so forth, right? So, which didn't work out the best. So God already said certain things were going to be, and yet we're going to find that things are still going to be done to try to ensure that things happen a particular way, which God already said would happen. So there was really no need for some of the deceptions and shenanigans, which really ended up really hurting some family relationships for a long time. Okay, but we'll get to that when we do. Okay, so we find out that at the end of chapter 26, the last thing that is mentioned is Esau's marriage to what? To some Hittite women. Okay? This doesn't please Rebecca too well, and that kind of sets the stage for chapter 27, at least rhetorically. It's as if Rebecca's like, well, no loser of a son who marries Hittite women is going to get the inheritance and the blessing from his father. No way. So that primes us for kind of the deceit that she's going to be involved in this chapter. So, in other words, the last couple verses in 26 kind of set the stage, and in Rebecca's mind gives her the justification to do what she does. Okay? So let's turn to chapter 27. Okay? Let's look at the first 5 verses. Okay? When Isaac was old, okay, so now, old man, and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son. And he answered, here I am. He said, behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. So, okay. So who favors whom in this family? Do we remember that? If not, the text will give us a clue, right? But so dad favors the hunter, the strong son who hunts game, and he also enjoys eating a lot of the game that Esau hunts down, kills, and cooks. So he likes that. Whereas Jacob was really not the outdoorsy type of guy, and so he spent a lot of time with his mom helping in her domestic duties. So they formed a bond. Okay? So each parent favors a different son. Okay? Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau. So Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it. Okay, so that's the setup. Okay? And I think I just kind of messed up when I did that quote, but that's what happens when you put stuff together late in the evening. But so Isaac favors Esau and Rebekah favors Jacob. And so that is, we'll get to that where it'll be specifically mentioned in the text. Okay? But let's continue on, because now she's aware that so-and-so is away, and if Isaac is thinking, hey, my days are numbered, what might a wily wife do who wants her favorite to get all the stuff, as if he were the firstborn? Because she doesn't like Esau, that loser who marries Hittite women whom he shouldn't be marrying, right? So, verses 6 through 10. Rebekah said to, there it is, this is it, I just put it in the wrong spot. Rebekah said to her son, so notice her, that in itself's not a giveaway, but it's added there for emphasis. Spoke to her son, okay? Jacob, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food, that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies. So he knows this is kind of, these are shenanigans he shouldn't be participating in. But he kind of has a fallback, doesn't he? Well, Mom commanded me, and I didn't want to disrespect her. So he kind of has an excuse that he can give, even though he knows he shouldn't be doing this. Because this is clearly deception. Because Dad wants something from Esau that he's going to hunt and cook. And Rebekah's going to, well, she's not going to cook wild game, but she knows what to do to make it taste similar to what Isaac wants to eat. So, yeah. She should, by now. They've been married a while, right? So, here we have it. Okay? And yet it's completely unnecessary, because God had said in chapter 25 that the older will serve the younger. So this she knows. This Isaac knows. So all of this is unnecessary. So is she too thinking, well, God needs my help? Or is she just thinking, I'm just going to make sure this happens just in case? This could be her insurance policy, which is probably the case. The text doesn't tell us, but that makes the most sense, right? So, I know God said, but I just want to make sure. Okay? This is from Romans chapter 9. This is the bottom of page 1. Okay? Rebekah also had children by one man, our forefather Isaac. So this is Paul looking back, describing kind of, the Jewish lineage. Even before the twins were born, or did anything good or bad, in order that God's promise in election might continue, not by works, but because of him who calls us, it was said to her, the older will serve the younger. Just as it is written, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. So what's the point being made here? See? Well, Paul makes that point. In order that God's purpose in election might continue. See? So when God intercedes in such ways, he's interceding to make sure that the messianic promise comes true. Okay? Now, we don't know so much here as to say, well, why couldn't it go through Esau? Right? We know it's going through Isaac. Okay? And God is ensuring that. And so some of this is really just kind of emphasizing it. Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. Okay? So this is just really strong language just to emphasize that point. It's not like he's saying, well, Esau I hate so much that I'm going to make sure he goes to hell, or, so this doesn't override God's love for the entire human race. Okay? These are strong statements to make a point. Okay? So, and so God is working here to ensure the messianic promise holds true. Okay? So that's what we have going on. And so God had already done this numerous times. Okay? And so he's doing it once more, though this is not as dramatic as some of the things that he did, like making sure Sarah will become pregnant, right? Flooding the world. So, that was the most dramatic, right? Okay, let's continue on, okay? So let's turn to page 2. Okay. Oh, 11 through 26. Why did I give such a large chunk? Okay, sometimes I wonder myself. Okay, let's start with verse 11. Okay. But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man." What is he realizing right off the bat? I mean, by him saying this, what does he know that his mom is doing and wants him to be part of? A deception, right? So he doesn't say it, but it's very obvious, because otherwise, why would he even bring up, well, hey, I'm not a hairy dude like Esau. So right there, he's knowing that this is some sort of deception, and he's saying, this may not work because I'm not Esau, and it won't be hard for Dad to tell. Of course, Isaac's is getting old, and right, eyesight's not good, hearing's not good, so so on and so forth. So it won't be as if you're trying to fool a 25-year-old man. Okay? So we continue. But still, if you're not hairy, and Esau, from what Scripture says, was a pretty hairy guy. So he would be like, I remember when I was a kid, and I grew up in Washington, so, we'd walk down to this little lake, and that was the local place we'd go swimming. And so one day I'm there at the equivalent of the beach, and there's some dude there. I mean, he was so hairy, he had hair all over his back. And I was like, oh, and I just remember as a kid, like, oh, that's so gross. He looks like a bear. So, yeah. Because, dudes have hair, but normally not like that. So Esau was like that guy, right? Like the really hairy guy. And the guy's, never mind. I'll stop. That's not part of the lesson. Let's continue on. Perhaps my father will feel me and shall seem to be mocking, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing. His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go. Bring them to me." So he went and took them and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau. Oh, look at that. So she's even he's going to put on Esau's clothing. So we kind of know something's going on there, which means that it'll smell like Esau, right? Yeah, okay. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the goat she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. Okay? So he went into his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Okay. Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn." Okay. "I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat my game, that your soul may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it quickly, my son?" Yeah. Like, wow, was the wild game just outside? Okay. He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Oh, man, you're digging it deeper, dude. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So he's kind of suspecting something doesn't seem right here. He brought the game back pretty fast, cooked, And I'm not sure, he doesn't sound a whole lot like Esau. So Jacob went near to his father, who felt him and said, his voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, are you really my son Esau? He answered, I am. Then he said, bring it near to me that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Okay, so here we have this, and it looks like the deception has worked, right? Isaac had his doubts, but he's old and he's feeble, and obviously you can tell his eyesight's not too good, okay, because he wanted to feel. He just said, well, I could look at your face. You're not Esau. Get out of here, you loser. No, none of that happens. So we can kind of just know that his eyesight is not good at all, okay? And so this was able to work because of, okay, well, he's hairy like Esau. So at that point he says, well, okay, I have to take my son at his word, even though I'm not 100% sure, because the other stuff seems to confirm it. Okay? So that's kind of where he is. Okay? So let's continue on. So it did work, though it was feeble. It was a 52%, convincing percentage as opposed to a slam dunk. But it worked. Okay? Then his father Isaac said to him, come near and kiss me, my son. So he came near and kissed him, and Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said. So now what is he going to think? Well, he has to be Esau because he smells like him. So even though we don't have really good noses like dogs or anything like that, the sense of smell kind of, it reaches to a part of the brain that can really bring back memories or can help in some ways. And in this case, it's the smell that does this. So he's wearing his garments. He says, well, he has the smell of Esau. And that just kind of, okay, this is real. Okay. So this is what Isaac says. See, the smell of my son is the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. So Isaac is speaking God's blessing to him. Okay? Notice the order. Okay, that helps convey this. May God give you the dew of heaven. So notice the direction. Heaven and the fatness of the earth. See? Heaven to earth. Okay? And plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. So right here, this last statement, what does that sound like? That sounds like what God said to Abraham. So this last tail part is really, this is the continuation of the blessing that God first spoke to Abraham. Okay, and it was given to Isaac, and now it's given to his son Jacob. So this is the continuing of the promise, right? That through a descendant of Abraham, all the peoples of the world will be blessed. Okay, so there we have that. Okay, so Jacob received what he should have received and would have received whether this deception happened or not. Right? Because of what God had said earlier. So all these shenanigans, it didn't happen in the way God would have worked it if they didn't do this stuff, but it still happened. The blessing of Abraham that God gave to Abraham still would have continued through Jacob. Okay? So all they did was, all this is really going to do is probably make things worse between Rebekah and Isaac and Jacob and Esau for years. Because if you're Esau, right, what are you going to do? Well, I'll wait till my brother's asleep. and he'll be gone, and I'll make it look like an accident. I mean, maybe not, but the thing is, he could very well do that because of this sort of deception, right? So, I mean, he's already, in a sense, emotionally, Esau is, I came back and I was totally spent and wiped out when I was after hunting, and you said, no, make sure you're going to give me your birthright, okay? And or you're not going to eat the food. He's like, what? It's already there. You've already made it. I mean, give me some of the red, and the next time I hunt game, I'll bring you some back. I mean, that's kind of the, nope, just whatever, okay? Well, let's continue on because there's still more stuff happening, okay? So we're going to look through verses 30 through 38. As soon as Jacob had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Whoo, good thing that Jacob was gone by then. Oh, man. Okay. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me. His father Isaac said to him, who are you? He answered, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. Okay. Now, what I'll mention here is the first time that firstborn is mentioned in the dialogue of Esau and Jacob and whatnot is really when Jacob first mentions it. He goes up to his dad and he mentions firstborn, and now Esau does. But that specific term wasn't used in the immediate context, which means it shows that Jacob is really upping the game to ensure he gets the blessing. You're firstborn, he mentions. Okay, now Esau mentions it, right? But Jacob beat him to the punch. Okay, so then Isaac trembled very violently and said, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it before you came. Now Isaac is shaking. So the emotions associated with this are overwhelming him. Okay, and so he has this sort of emotional kind of reaction of shaking. Kind of if you have there's some huge event that happens and you get this huge burst of adrenaline in your system, and then after you do whatever, you're shaking. It's because of you're flooded with this stuff, and that's just how your body reacts. So that's what's happening here to Isaac. This is a visceral sort of, and for him to shake like this, he's thinking, that was Jacob. He doesn't say it, but his emotions are kind of doing this, to have such a reaction like that. Okay? So, who was it that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came and have blessed him? Yes, and he shall be blessed. Meaning what? Yeah. It's kind of like when we were going through the book of Esther, right? And the king makes a decree or whatever. It's like, well, you can't undecree your decree because that undercuts your authority. So you can make another decree which will nullify its effects, but you can't undecree the decree, right? So the blessing is something like that. The blessing is given, and it's given, right? And it is what it is. And so this is the situation where he is right now. As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry and said to his father, bless me also, O father. But he said, now listen to this, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. Then he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Like, do you have another blessing for me, Dad? Isaac answered and said to him, behold, I have made him lord over you, and all his brothers I have given to him for servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, have you but one blessing, my father? Well, see, the thing is Isaac is saying, The blessing that I gave is from God. It's already done. I can't take it back. Okay? And Esau's, in a sense, not quite getting it. Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. So, yeah. Now the ironic part in all of this is what Isaac is showing is that God had told Isaac that the older will serve the younger too, right? So he knows this, yet he didn't want that to happen. See? So he wanted Esau to have all the stuff that God said was supposed to go to Jacob. And this kind of lets us know that. So it still would have happened. And Isaac probably would have had a similar reaction because he wanted Esau to get it, because Esau is the son he loves. Okay? Well, loves more. Okay? So let's continue on. Then Isaac, his father, answered and said to him. Okay. Before we get there, let's go down to page 2. There's Hebrew wordplay. I just want to bring this out. Okay. So there's something that we might not catch. So Jacob, in a sense, the name means like heel holder or something, because remember, they're twins, but they're not identical twins, but fraternal twins. And so Jacob was holding on to Esau's heel. Okay. And so Jacob is a play on the Hebrew word for he. Well, that's in other words, heel without the L word, without the letter L. I don't know what my brain was thinking. Since he was holding Esau's heel during birth. Now Esau does a double play on Jacob's name from Akeb, heel, to Akab, cheat. So this is that sort of thing that it's similar enough to basically saying, this is Jacob is a heel holder. We'd be like calling him heel holder, but then you have another word that sounds like exactly almost like heel holder, but it means cheater, but we don't have that in English. But that's the thing, that's the word play that happens. So when we would hear this in the Hebrew, it would be funny, but it would also be sad, because here this happens and we just know that it's going to be the ruin between them. Okay? So from Akeb to Akab, with a slight change in pronunciation. Esau screamed, "It is because he is called Jacob that he Jacobed me 2 times. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." In other words, Jacob lived down to his name, not lived up to his name. Okay? So, not all is well in the Isaac household. We continue. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, that is Esau. Remember how he had blessed Jacob? Let's see if it's the same or how it differs with Esau. Behold, away from. Okay. It's the same word in Hebrew as from, except it can carry different meanings. It could be from as in coming from, or it could be from as in leaving from or away from. Just like in most languages, you don't have a separate word for come and go. It's the same word, which means coming is, right, is approaching someplace, and going is leaving someplace. So the same word from can mean from something or away from something. Here, the translation is spot on. These guys are brilliant, because this is exactly what's happening. Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. Notice it's reversed. Not from heaven to earth, but from earth to heaven. It's an anti-blessing, because earth to heaven really never works, but heaven to earth does. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. But he's still going to, right? Still going to be the one with the blessing. Okay. So there you have it. It's the reversal. So this lets us know that Isaac is saying, I can't give you the exact same blessing because there's only one of those. So he blesses him, but it's the flip side of what he had blessed Isaac with. So really kind of sad. Let's look at, on page 3 we have the compare and contrast the blessings, and so we can kind of see it, and then on the right side we can kind of see where it corresponds to the blessing that Isaac had spoken to Jacob. So let's look at, so may Elohim, which is the word being used for God, may Elohim give to you from the dew of the skies and from the fatness of the earth. Okay, so it's the opposite with Esau. From the fat of the earth be your dwelling, and from the dew of the skies from above. So it's anti-blessing. Okay, and what's the result? An abundance of grain and wine. Many people serve you and nations bow down before you. What's the result of Esau? By your sword you will live. So it's not people bowing down before him. It's you're going to have a rough go of it. And it's going to be a lot of struggle. Okay, wow, thanks, Dad. I wish you didn't give me a blessing at all. Okay, so let's continue on with what he spoke to Jacob. He said, nations bow before you. Be mighty over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow before you, including Esau. Okay, and of course, what was spoken to Esau? And your brother you will serve. See, total flip. Okay, and then those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. The repetition of what God spoke to Abraham. The first promise God gave to Abraham is continuing on through Isaac and Jacob. But what with Esau? Of course, it's below that because there is no equivalent per se. But when you do break loose, you will break his yoke from your neck. So it won't be as if you're in slavery, but life will be hard, and you will not have the blessings that God gave to Jacob through me. Okay? This is from 2 Kings. Okay? In his days, Edom, remember Esau? Okay, Edom is a play on the, well, it comes from the word Adom or Edom, which is for red, and that's Esau. Give me some of that red. That's, he identified the stuff that Jacob was making only by its color because he was so spent. He didn't even call it what it was. Give me some of the red. And so the descendants of Esau become Edomites, redites. So, and so when 2 Kings says in his days Edom, they're referring to Esau. Okay? So in his days, Edom revolted from the rule of Judah and set up a king of their own. Well, okay, descendants of Esau here. Then Joram passed over to Zair with all his chariots and rose by might, and he and his chariot commanders struck the Edomites who had surrounded them, but his army fled home. So Edom revolted from the rule of Judah to his day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. So Edom, though it refers to Esau, here it's referring to his descendants, and this is just talking at a later time concerning what? Some contention that takes place between Judah and the Edomites, and of course, the Edomites what? Break free from the yoke. So here this is, what's being described in 2 Kings is really showing what was spoken to Esau, but at a corporate level, not an individual level. Okay? So, all right, let's continue on. Well, think about this. If you were Esau and you really felt you were swindled, I mean, this is stuff, well, I guess I can say this because I've dealt with families that have had situations, and this is stuff where there could be hatred for somebody's whole life. And no matter what you do, the veins bulge in the neck, and oh man. So yeah, something like this, wow, it's really hard to get past. Okay, verses 41 through 46. Okay. Now Esau hated Jacob. Okay, if it needed to be said, it is now. Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him, and Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. So what is Esau kind of telling himself he will do and when? I'm not going to do it while Dad's alive. I don't want to break Dad's heart. But once he's dead, it's open season. Okay? And Jacob should, well, he shouldn't be the idiot. He should know this is possible. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "Behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while, until your brother's fury turns away." Will it ever turn away? It might, but wow. Until your brother's anger turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. Well, he's going to have to be really old. And then if he gets Alzheimer's, maybe it could be the mean type, so maybe never. Okay. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of both of you both in one day? So, Isaac and Rebekah both they love both their sons. It's just that they've played favorites, and and she liked Jacob more, and vice versa. But neither one wants either of their sons to be killed. Okay? So then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I loathe my life because of the Hittite woman. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me?" Now remember, at the end, if we turn to chapter 26, what does it say? Well, basically, it mentions Esau marrying Hittites. Okay? So right now, this lets us know that the implication, which was a reasonable one, that, Rebekah may very well also not want Jacob to receive the blessing because, married to a Hittite. And now that's confirmed. See, so what the text implied is now stated. Okay? So I would say right now, no, Isaac may not, because Isaac, he's old and he's almost blind, and he's probably not aware of this, but Rebekah, she's probably thinking, I should have done this differently, or I should have done nothing and let God handle it. Okay? Well, let's continue on, because now Rebekah is living a life of sadness and fear for her son Jacob. Okay? All right. So, and then on the bottom of page 3, I just kind of give a like a synopsis for kind of what happens. Okay. So, let's start with 28. 1 through 5 again. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and directed him, "You must not take a wife from the Canaanite women. Arise, go to Padam Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take your wife from one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Go, God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you." So Isaac now is aware. Okay? The text is saying, okay, well now Isaac is aware of it, but he also knows his son Esau, and he's like, that dude, I could tell him that, but I don't know if I can control that fire spout, or that volcano within him. So you need to get out of Dodge. I mean, right here, this lets us know that Isaac doesn't believe that he could tell Esau not to harm Jacob, and that his word would stand. He probably knows, he won't do it, but once I die, he'll probably kill him. So this right here kind of tells, which affirms everything that's going on before chapter 28 concerning Jacob leaving town. Okay? Arise and go to Padam Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take as your wife from there one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may become a company of peoples. May he give you the blessing of Abraham to you and to your offspring with you, that you may take possession of the land of your sojourners that God gave to Abraham. So what is Isaac doing? He wants the blessing that God gave to Abraham to continue. And so now he is, in a sense, interceding to make sure this happens. Okay? Thus Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padam Aram, to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. Okay, So now we have two brothers, and one is now far away, but he kind of went to his mother's kind of home area. Okay? So that way, he should be safe. Okay? So all that, everything looks like it should be okay now. Okay? So let's continue and see what happens with these two brothers. So, now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Paddan Aram to take a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he directed him, "You must not take a wife from the Canaanite women." And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and gone to Paddan Aram. So when Esau saw that the Canaanite women did not please Isaac his father, Esau went to Ishmael and took as his wife, besides the wives he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. Okay, what is going on here? This is really messed up. I mean, it's so obvious. You don't think Isaac's going to know what he's doing? I mean, this is as bad as, we have two dogs at our house. So we have like an old, small Maltese. And so when I'm petting him, the other dog, and you know how dogs are, they usually adopt a person. So Bing's the other dog, well, he was the one who adopted me. So in August, the little white Maltese adopted Sherry. But if I happen to be petting August, well, the dog who adopted me comes and gets between, right? Don't do that. Or if none of us are looking, he'll go up and bite him on the ear. I'm like, what? So we laugh at it because it's so obvious. But this is the same thing. It's like, oh, so now you're married. So the blessing has been given. What difference is this going to make? Well, who knows? But now I'm going to actually marry the women the right group that I should have, instead of a foreigner. Oh, boy. Oh, this is so messed up. But, okay. So that's what's going on. Well, maybe I could kind of curry some favor now if but you're already married to someone and now you're, okay, sure, whatever. You just have to, I would just have to think that at night Isaac and Rebekah just have to be shaking their head. Wow, what can you do? He's our son. Well, Rebekah's probably going, what can you do? He's your son, Isaac, right? Okay, let's continue on. Okay, verses 10 through 17. Okay, Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he came to a certain place and stayed there that night. Now, what's the deal with a certain place? Well, right, at that time it was no place in particular. Okay, it just happened to be where he stopped to rest. Not to say that it won't become something special later, but at that time. So, a certain place. Okay, just kind of. Okay, and stay there that night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. So, right now, this is Jacob's traveling, and if it does have a name, he doesn't know what it is. And so the text is calling it what? Took a stone from that place. And so that's how wherever he is described. Okay? And he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder, okay, set up to earth, and the top of it reached heaven. So it could be a staircase, the word can mean several things. Okay? So, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. Oh, what's happening here? We know, right? At least we should by now. God is going to give him a promise. Like the promise that I first gave to Abraham, continue through Jacob, is going to also continue through you. At least that's what we should expect. Right? The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. There it is. Right? Okay. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So, Jacob basically woke up scared out of his wits because whoa.
I have a question.
Yes.
Really the first messianic promise then?
Well, to Jacob, given directly to Jacob, yes.
But Jacob doesn't know what it really is, does he?
Well, we can't say. I would think he would from his dad. I think, you would think in the course of conversations, this would have been discussed. But if so, I mean, Genesis doesn't cover that. It doesn't cover dinner talk. And I would just say, well, I would think it would have to, just in the course of growing up and living their lives. And
But isn't it like 1,000 years before?
oh, it's more than that, yeah.
But it's a promise.
Right.
Our first promise.
Well, to Jacob, I mean, there were promises God had given before, but this is the first that he speaks directly to Jacob. And his response isn't weird, okay? There are a couple things that I think that are kind of worth knowing. So this is the promise, and right when it started, we go, oh, well, yeah, this is probably what's going to happen, and it does, okay? So we kind of see this pattern, okay? And so God is remaining faithful even though all these shenanigans are going on, right? So in verse 13, it starts out, okay, and I want to bring this up because I'm thinking even in the Hebrew we would hear this, so we don't have to, but then it changes later on. So in verse 13 it says, I am behold, the Lord stood above it. So the Hebrew word could mean above, but it could also mean beside. We'll find out later it means beside. But I'm thinking, if I were hearing it in Hebrew, and I think the first Hebrew listeners would have thought above, okay? And then they'll realize, oh, that wasn't what was meant, because of what will be said later. So, in a sense, our eyes, the scales will fall off our eyes. We'll think and we'll hear it. Well, it could be beside, but our natural inclination will, oh yeah, there's this ladder or stairway to heaven, and God's on top, and he's looking down, and he's giving Jacob his blessing. Right? God on high, Jacob on earth, and just like the blessing was from heaven to earth, right? Okay. But then what does Jacob actually say? He says what? Let's see. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Oh, verse 16. Surely the Lord is in this place, not above. See? So, it wasn't God just speaking the blessing from above. He came down to Jacob and gave him the blessing. Which then even makes more sense that he wakes up and he's scared. Well, yeah, because God, he saw this ladder or stairway, but God came to him and gave him the blessing. But it's God. And see, and that's the holy fear. Okay? So, yeah, just like when God came to Abraham, right? Count all the stars in heaven. So, these are personal theophanies, presences of God, not, right? And all of this, what does all of this point forward to? The ultimate theophany of God in actual human flesh, Jesus. So that when we first think that it's above, and then we go, oh no, he was next to Jacob. Right there, that kind of, right there, that aha moment is messianic. That'll be Jesus. Okay? Are we ready to continue? Okay. 18 to verse 22. So early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. Why oil? There was some lichen growing on the rock, and the oil will kind of get rid of it. No, it's blessing, right? Oil is, okay, anointed one, that means oil. So it's a way to convey God's blessing. Okay, and so that's what he's kind of recognizing. Okay, that this wasn't just some weird thing that happened. I was asleep and UFOs came to visit me. You know, I mean, this is, right? And so he's recognizing this, and so he's anointing the rock, okay, where that served as a pillow, where he slept. Okay, he called the name of the place Bethel, right? So this would be like a house of God, right? Because, you know, Beit being son and El short for Elohim, okay? But the name of the city was Luz at first. So now he says, oh, well, that area did have a name, okay? Then Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I may come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. To me, I think this is being a little pushy. But okay, you know, because he's adding some stuff on. Well, what is in this blessing that he's extrapolating, right? Because what does God say? Right? He does say that through you all the families of Israel will be blessed. So he's going to have children, or that won't happen. Okay? And so there's that. Okay? And I will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land, so on and so forth. So he's extrapolating from that, and he might be getting just a little pushy. But I wouldn't say he's totally out to lunch, right? But he's saying, so that I may come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you. So he's recognizing what God is saying, and in a sense, what is he doing? You better be faithful to this God. He's expecting somehow God to heal the breach that he caused. Well, he and Rebekah, right? Isn't that the expectation? Yeah. So he wants peace with his brother. Well, we know he doesn't want his brother to kill him. So there's that. But he probably wants peace with his brother because he's my brother, and I'm hoping one day we can just get along and not hate each other. He probably doesn't hate Esau, but he swindled him, or even though it would have happened anyway, and it would have been done in a way where it wouldn't have been a swindle, okay? And so now he's like, well, it's so messed up. God, you better undo this because I don't know if I can. Now, we'll find out later that he kind of will try, but he's recognizing that this is going to take God, because if Esau's like a lot of regular people, this isn't going away till the day he dies. And we're just kind of left there. So what is going to happen? He went away to his mother's family, and he's supposed to find a non-Hittite, non-Canaanite woman to marry. So it'll be someone related distantly, right? So that way, yeah. And so we know that, but we don't know how that's going to unfold. And we also don't know, well, will relations between Esau and Jacob, will that ever be healed? This is a pretty bad one. And this is bad enough where sometimes somebody's at a funeral and somebody's dying and still won't reconcile. Those are the really sad cases. When you go, your brother's dying, fine. I mean, I can't make you reconcile. So, all right, thoughts, questions? So it's not a happy family. And whose fault is it? It's their own. I mean, they've dug multiple holes that they've put themselves in. They can't blame anybody but themselves. But okay, we'll see that what will happen. But as we make our way through the text and as it unfolds, I think honest refrain would be, we've all heard the expression, there but by the grace of God go I. Yeah. We may not do those exact same things, but there's something that we'll go, yeah, I did something. There but by the grace of God go I. Okay?
I don't understand. Is the property, when I read this,
Mm-hmm.
it's always, well, Jacob went to sleep. And God appeared and said, I'm going to give you this land.
Yeah.
And he leaves. So how does he know what the land is?
Oh, how does...
to return?
Oh, Jacob? Oh, well, the thing is the text doesn't tell us everything, does it?
Right.
So how much, in other words, does the text reveal all those direct interactions with Jacob, or does the text just say, well, here's the stuff you need to know, so that way we can kind of follow what's happening and how God is working in their lives and ensuring that the promise continues. But that's what we see. We see that God is interacting in a way to always ensure that that promise made will happen. We don't see God really doing that for anything else. Not to say that he won't, but and so if we look at, well, when does God intercede? That's when he does it. So what does that tell us? Well, the promise, he's going to make sure that it eventually does happen. And the descendant will come to be and do what he came to do. And of course, that's Jesus. Okay? Let's pray. Oh, our Father, we just have to shake our heads because that family is so messed up. And yet, I'll tell you, almost every family people I've met with, their families are messed up. My family was messed up. And we all have to say, there but by the grace of God go I. You take us in spite of all of the crap that we bring, and you look at us and recognize that is not who we are. That is who we are, stained with sin. And yet, you still love us, and you still grant us grace, and you still wash us clean. Always let us understand that is who you are, so that we may always run home to you, not run away. And even when we can't run home, may you be like us to Jacob, like you were to Jacob, where you came down to him. Come down to us and do what only you can do, that we may remain yours forever. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.